Namaste, dear soul. This is Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your highest evolvement. I am so excited to share with you guys today's topic of discussion. It's going to be a solo cast all about the topic of synchronicities. So synchronicities are essentially coincidences that have more of a meaning than a random occurrence. They exist all around us. They're happening all the time. All it takes is just opening our eyes to tune into the magic that exists in the world around us. I'll be sharing with you how you can pick up on synchronicities in your life, as well as a series of synchronicities that has been taking place in mine in the past week. Today is June 6th, so you're hearing this a little bit later, but the past week has been an incredible example of the power of synchronicities, from meeting Deepak Chopra for the first time, him writing a cover quote to my book, him writing the foreword to my book, me meeting with him today, and now we are working together on a new project. So it's been insane, a crazy week. I can't wait to dive in with this with you, because obviously nothing is a coincidence, and you guys have been following along with me on Instagram. He just posted a video of us together. If you haven't seen it yet, go on his Instagram at Deepak Chopra, and you will see a video of us talking. He's discussing my book, The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, and announcing that I'll officially be a faculty member of his new social network program called Jayo. So it's been so exciting, because literally a week ago I walked up to him and just introduced myself, and this is happening. So I really want to use this as an example to share with you the power of synchronicities. And if you just surrender to the flow, it will take you places that you could never imagine. So I want to share with you a quote that actually comes from Deepak Chopra himself. And it says, according to Vedanta, and Vedanta is the Hindu system of knowledge, according to Vedanta, there are only two symptoms of enlightenment, just two indications that a transformation is taking place within you towards a higher consciousness. The first symptom is that you stop worrying. Things don't bother you anymore. You become lighthearted and full of joy. The second symptom is that you encounter more and more meaningful coincidences in your life, more and more synchronicities. And this accelerates to the point where you actually experience the miraculous. I couldn't think of a quote that describes what has happened to me the past week more than this quote that is coincidentally by Deepak Chopra himself. So, synchronicity exists for all of us. It is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see it. It is essentially when the universe is whispering to you by signs, by little things propelling you in the right direction towards your destiny. So the word synchronicity means a meaningful coincidence. They are outer and inner events that may not seem connected, but actually are leading to your highest self. So some say synchronicities are God, or whichever source you believe in, the universe, whoever it is, sending us messages. It could be your spirit guides. It could just be the earth. It could be anything, but they are messages that are leading you to a path, and that path is your highest self. So these synchronicities are miracles in the present day. They make life a dazzling experience. They show us that we were not just put here to live a mundane life and die, but there are actual purposes and paths that we need to be taking. And the more we are in tune with that direction and that flow, the more the synchronicities seem to occur. So most of us have felt some coincidences in our lives. Maybe it's like, oh, I wore the same dress as my friend. It could be something like really small and random like that. Or it could be you happen to be at this restaurant and you were supposed to go to another one and your future husband was there. And I think everyone has a crazy coincidence or synchronicity experience. So I want to share with you guys right now what's going on with mine, and then I'm going to be talking about how you can pick up on synchronicities in your life. And then later on, if you guys have any questions and you want to discuss, let's take the conversation to the Mind Body Balancers Facebook group. If you just look it up on Facebook, you can join it and I'll accept you. It's also called the Highest Self Podcast Facebook group, and also on my Instagram at Eat Feel Fresh. Would love to hear from you guys. So let me share with you what's going down right now. My whole life, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, I've been very drawn to the mystic, especially Indian mythology. I've been very drawn towards Hinduism, towards spirituality, the Vedas, Vedanta, all of these type things. And growing up, I would always tell my parents, I'm going to be the next young Deepak Chopra. They're like, okay, sure you are. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And it's like a kind of random thing for like a 12-year-old to want, you know, most of them want to be like Britney Spears. I'm like, Deepak Chopra. So he was always a role model to me my whole life. I started reading his books very young. Perfect Health was the first book that I ever read about Ayurveda. If you have not read it, I really recommend it. And I'm going to share with you a little coincidence about that later on. So he's always been a huge role model for me. And when I started writing my book, I didn't even know it was going to be published. So that was not even in my mind. And then later on, as it was getting published, as I got the book deal, as I got the Idiot's Guide book deal, I was like, my far-fetched dream is for me to one day have a book that's like written with Deepak Chopra or even endorsed by him or something like that. It was always like a dream of mine. But you know how we have these dreams. A lot of times we don't take our own dreams very seriously. But the more work and effort that I put into this book, and it was coming to life, and I realized that this book was actually of profound substance and was in dire need of people. So many of us experience physical and mental imbalances, and this book truly can help alleviate a lot of those emotional and physical pains. So I really wanted this book to reach mass audience, and this idea of Deepak Chopra endorsing the book became more and more important to me. But obviously I didn't know him. I didn't know anyone that knows him. I had no real connection to him. So I tried, I would try to see, maybe I could go to the Chopra Center, this, that, but it never really worked out. So I was sort of like, okay, maybe in the future. I know in the future, one day, eventually I'll cross paths with him, but I don't really know when that would be. But it was always a huge intention that I had, and a deep inner knowingness in me was like, somehow me and Deepak Chopra will be connected in this lifetime. So I'm thinking about that. The book is about to be printed. It is coming out this August, so it's June. This is 2 months before. And books, they get printed months in advance because there's so many thousands of copies that are printed, and the publishers, a lot of bureaucracy around that. So I was going to New York for my friend Maria Marlowe's book launch. She just released the Real Food Grocery Guide, which is a great book I really recommend for you guys to pick up. So she invited me to New York for her book launch. It was going to be mid-June. She ended up having to change the date because she wasn't able to do it on that day in June. So I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to come. And I had so many things going on with the book launch, my daily Om course, just so many things. So I was sort of yeah, I don't really know if I'm going to make it or not. And then I kind of decided that I'm not going to make it. It just wasn't worth the time and the trip and all of these things. So I was kind of sorry, I'm not going to make it to the book signing. Then another friend of mine, Leanna, who wrote The Earth Diet, another book that I really recommend. Leanna, she also wrote the 10-minute recipes. She texted me and she was like, no, I really feel like you need to come to New York. New York is calling you. This is your time to come. You can stay with me, because I was going to stay with Maria's assistant for the second half of the trip because her boyfriend was visiting, and there were all of these things. And she was like, you can stay with me. So then something inside of me was like, okay, you know what? You should just go. It's going to be worth it. You'll meet new people there. You'll be able to support Maria for her book launch. You should just go. So days before the trip, I just decided I'm going to go to New York. And I had been Instagram messaging with this really amazing guy named Saw D. Simone. I really recommend following his work as well. He's an amazing healer, meditation teacher, and we met in a Facebook group, the Moon Club Facebook group. We had never met in person. So he was like, oh my God, we should meet up when when you come to New York? I was like, yeah, let's totally meet up. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to this conference, yoga and science conference. Do you want to come? And I was like, oh, okay. But I like looked, the tickets were like $80. I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to come. And he was like, oh, well, I can get you a free ticket if you like shout it out on your Instagram. The founder, Eddie Stern, said it was fine. I was like, okay. So I decided I'll go to that yoga conference. I'll go to the book signing. It's going to be worth going to New York. I go to New York, and my friend Maria and I are filming these videos called Healthy Girl Problems, which will be out soon. They're hilarious. They're making fun of like all healthy people and stuff. We're filming these videos till like 2 a.m. We're staying up, and the yoga conference is the day after. So I was like really not sure if I should go or not because I was so exhausted. We had a lot more videos to film, and her boyfriend was going to be coming the next day, and it was like our last day to do it. But then again, something in me that morning was like, you should go to that yoga conference. So it's all the way in Brooklyn. I go to the yoga and science conference, and it's really interesting. It's a lot of great PhDs. They're talking about the research that's gone behind meditation, etc. So there was a lot of interesting information, but you know, sitting down in an auditorium for a long time can get exhausting. And I was there for like 5-6 hours by then, and I was ready to leave. So it was the last speaker before the lunch break. And I told myself in my head, I was like, oh my God, like I just need to get up. In my head, I literally said, the only thing that could make me stay right now is if someone like Deepak Chopra walks on stage. Literally my thought. So they're like, okay, thank you. Now time for lunch. Everyone's getting up for lunch. As people are walking out, they're like, oh, and by the way, from our sponsor, Deepak Chopra of the Chopra Foundation, thank you. As everyone's walking out, like I did not even know that the Chopra Foundation was involved or anything. I was like, oh my God, this is it. And this like rush, this like highest self, like immediate knowingness came over me and was like, you need to go talk to him right now. I'm in the last row of this auditorium of literally at least 1,000 people, and he's on stage, okay? And everyone's leaving the auditorium. Something in me is like, go girl, go. So I go down all of the stairs, I walk on stage, and I just go right up to him, and I introduce myself, and I'm like, hello, I'm Sahara Rose. I just wrote The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, and I would love to send you a copy and have you look at it. And he was super friendly. He was like, yeah, sure. He gave me his email address. He's like, send me over the copy. And I was just so elated. I'd go on my Instagram story. Maybe a lot of you guys watched it. And I was just so happy that I talked to this person that I've heard his voice for so many years. I would like fall asleep listening to his audiobooks. And like I heard his voice in the flesh in real life. And it was so exciting. This is a week ago, guys. This isn't years ago. This is 1 week ago to the day. So excited, over the moon. I like go up to my friend Saw, who I just met that day, and we instantly became best friends. And I was like, thank you to you. You invited me to come to this event. And because of you, I got to come and meet Deepak Chopra. We're like celebrating, and this amazing news happened to him. He was like teaching this meditation at this art museum, and we're like celebrating, so happy. So, I email the publisher and I'm like, hey, like when is a copy of the book going to be ready so I can send to Deepak Chopra? They're like, oh, well, actually it hasn't gone to print yet. I thought it had gone to print. I was like, oh, okay. So then maybe there's time for a cover quote. They're like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's going to go to print in 2 days if you can get a cover quote in 2 days. So I emailed Mr. Chopra and I sent him the PDF of the book and I asked him if he wants to look it over. I would really, really be honored if he would write the cover quote because he's the person that introduced me to the book. I mean, to Ayurveda, and I just couldn't think of a better person. And he was so kind. That day, he looked over the entire book and he emailed me back and he gave me a cover quote and it was so kind of him. So I sent it to the publisher and they were like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is so wonderful. Like, yeah, like we still haven't printed the book. Like, there's still time if you want to even add a foreword. I was like, oh my God, yes. So then I asked him, I was like, I know this is super last minute and I only have like a day, but if you wanted to write the foreword, I would be extremely honored and it would be such a blessing and a lot of other stuff. I really poured my heart into this email and just like told him how much I looked up to him and like all of these things. And I was really scared because he didn't know me. He literally met me for 5 minutes and like, I'm just like some random girl like propositioning like to write a foreword to my book. And I was like, oh my God, of course he's going to say no. He's so busy, he has so many things to do. Like, but like something in me was like, you know what? You have to just ask. You can't get anything if you don't ask. And worst that happens, he says no, and then that's fine. Like, then it wouldn't have been there if you didn't ask anyway. So you just put it out there and ask. And I was doing so much just mantras, meditations, yantras, like every spiritual thing you can imagine, just like praying, like super just connecting to my highest self, like doing anything I could to just send him positive energy, send him love, send him gratitude for all of the help that he has done for me and so many of millions of people. And just like, instead of like asking, just like sending love and just giving. And that was my intention. Like if I just give and give and give, the universe will receive, instead of saying, hey, universe, give me more. I'm just saying, I love Deepak. I love everything that he's put out there. It would be such an honor. So I'm in super deep prayer and meditation and gratitude. And that morning, the next morning, I'm walking to my friend Maria's house, the same one who's the book launch. And she had an hour that we could finish filming the Healthy Girl Problem video. So I was like, okay, I have an hour. And that whole morning I was doing like yoga and meditation and chanting, and I was super running late. And I never, ever eat while I'm walking. It's like the number one thing that you're not supposed to do, especially in Ayurveda. But like I hadn't eaten all day. It was like 4 p.m. So I like stopped and get raw vegan sushi, which is like possibly the worst thing you could ever eat while walking. So I like pick up this raw vegan sushi from Juice Press. I'm walking through New York eating this sushi, like with like bags and like changes of clothes and my laptop and my podcast gear and like all of these things. I'm just like literally frantic. And I'm like super cutting it late because we only have an hour to film these videos. So you know how New York is. It's so busy, especially in intersections when you're crossing the street. So I'm crossing the street and it's like 3, 2, 1, like to get to the other side, which is normally when you run. And I hear this voice back behind me, an old man's voice being like, can someone help me cross the street? And everyone's ignoring him. Most people would ignore him, especially when you have raw vegan sushi in your hand and you're running late. But that same voice came over me in a different tone, but still stern-ass tone. My higher self doesn't take any shit. So it was like, you need to go help that man cross the street. So I run backwards instead of forwards, and I go up to the man and I say, I'll help you cross the street. And he's like, okay. So he like, I like put like the sushi and all the things in like one hand, and I like grab him and he's like holding on to me, and he looks like he's homeless. He has a lot of yellow discoloration on his face. He was very, very elderly, I assume in his late 80s, very short and shriveled, but really a sweet soul. You could tell he had a sweet soul. But I assumed he was homeless because he also had a really strong odor. Like it smelled like he hadn't been able to shower for a really long time. And he was holding on to me, but like something in me was like, you need to like take care of this man. So we're walking through New York and I'm like across the street with him. He's like, can you actually help me go to the subway? The subway's like 2 blocks the other way. I was like, okay. So we're like walking hand in hand and we start discussing. I'm like, so like, where are you going? What do you do? He's asking me questions about my life. And turns out that he is from Iraq, which is Iraq in English, the country that's being bombed by America. He's from Iraq, and I share with him that my family's from Iran, the neighboring country, and he like is telling me, oh, I love Iranian people. They're so well educated, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And he asks me where I live. I tell him Los Angeles, and he's like, oh, I actually have 2 sons that live in Los Angeles. One is a lawyer in Orange County, and the other one is a doctor. I was like, oh, wow, like that's I would never have guessed that. And I was like, wow, you should be so proud of yourself that you raised like a doctor and a lawyer. And he's like, yeah, they're married and they have kids, but I stayed here in New York and I'm a New Yorker by heart. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so amazing. We're like having this like beautiful like conversation, and I walk him down to the subway. We go down the elevator. I make sure he gets in. Like I'm definitely super, super late at this point, but at this, I don't even care. It's just so worth it. And I'm so happy that I'm helping someone. So I ask him where he is going, and he says, oh, I'm actually going to university. I'm a professor of physics. I'm like, wow. Like, I assumed he's homeless just because, like, he looked like he hadn't showered, but he's a professor of physics. Like, that's so impressive. And it was such a reminder to me, like, really do not judge a book by its cover. You do not know who anyone can be or what their story is. So we said goodbye, and I was just so happy that I had taken the time to help someone out. And it really just touched me from the deepest part of my heart, knowing, you always hear like, oh, help an elderly man cross the street. But at least in Los Angeles, like, you're never even walking to like help someone cross the street. So it was like really amazing that I got that opportunity to. And I felt really blessed and thankful. And I was no longer in a rush after that. Even though I was so late, I was no longer in a rush. And the day before that, I had read the book Many Lives, Many Masters. And in that book, it's a book by a psychiatrist who has a patient who, in his sessions, she starts going back and having these experiences of her past lives. It's an amazing, amazing book. I'll do a whole different podcast episode about the book, but in each of her past lives, she realizes that psychiatrist was her teacher in all different shapes and forms. And the day before that, I had thought, well, maybe Deepak Chopra was my teacher in another life, because I've always felt really drawn to him and drawn to his teachings. So I was like thinking about that book and thinking about how that man was a teacher, and like thinking, wow, like that man was like a teacher to me. You would have never guessed, but he was like God in disguise. Like he was almost like a little angel that appeared. So I was just thinking about like just how precious this interaction with this man is. And I looked at my email, and I was waiting for Deepak to respond about the foreword, whether he's going to write it or not, or what's going to happen. And it's a Saturday, so I'm kind of like not expecting him to respond, because most people don't respond to emails on Saturdays. And I look, and the moment I had let go of that man's hand, at that exact same time, I received an email from Deepak Chopra with the kindest foreword I have ever read. Like, I'm so excited for you guys to read this foreword. It is real, it is informative, it is engaging, it is generous, it is so sweet he just really acknowledges me as well, which is so kind. And it was so amazing to see that he really took the time to like research me and like look through my book and like look at my bio, and like it was just, I was so just overwhelmed with joy and love. And at that moment, I realized, I knew that man, I don't even think the old man was a human. He was an angel. And he was an angel that was put into my life. So God, or the universe, was testing me to see, when your teacher appears in the shape and form of a homeless old man crossing the street when you have a million things to do, will you still help him and look up to him the same way that you look at a teacher who has over 85 books and is a world famous celebrity? And the fact that I said yes, and the fact that I still helped this man and learned from him and felt so much gratitude for him just sharing his life with me, the universe thanked me and provided for me with the acknowledgement that I couldn't even dream of receiving. I never could imagine that I would receive a foreword by Deepak Chopra, especially at this caliber, at this age. Like, it is beyond my wildest belief, and I am truly in awe. And I know for a fact that it was because I helped that old man. The universe works in amazing ways, and he was put into my life as a test of my morality. And I truly believe that if I had ignored that guy and kept on going and just said, oh, I want to just make it in time, I really don't think that it would have played out the way that it did. So I am so humbled and so honored to have been given that chance to help him, because it's helped my life tenfold to know that service is the answer. And I want to share it with you guys, because so many of us, we want more in our lives. I think we all want to achieve more and feel more and experience more, which is totally fine. Like, it's good to have dreams, but the best way to get them is to give. So picking up on that synchronicity, that the teacher comes in many shapes and forms. The teacher can come in someone that you would never even look. It can come in a homeless man, or it can come in a guru. It comes in everything. God exists in everything and everyone. And these synchronicities are that God-like quality showing up in our lives all around us. And it really just opens your eyes up to see how limitless the world is, with these miracles that are hiding in little corners behind us. And if we just choose to say yes, we can open up a box of magic, and it will unfold in parts of our lives where darkness once existed. So I was just so elated. I obviously took to my Instagram story again. I was moved to tears. And after that forward, I was just so grateful. I sent Mr. Chopra back an email with my sincere gratitude and told him, I just want to be of service. Please let me know how I can help, if I can volunteer, if I can write blog posts for you, if I can just help at the Chopra Center, whatever it is that you need, please just let me know how I can be of service to your mission. I am in utmost alignment of what you are trying to put out into the universe. And if there's anything that I can do with any of my skill sets or any of my consciousness or anything I can learn to still provide for your message, please let me know what I can do. And he responded. He responds really fast to emails too. And he's like, well, there's a project that we're working on called Jayo, and it's a social network that's geared towards expanding consciousness of the youth. And we have a section on meditation and health and food and fitness and yoga and like all of these things. And I would love to see for ways that we can collaborate on it together. Oh my God. These words were like everything that I could hope and imagine for, tied up in a box with like a beautiful bow, fed to me by a dolphin, like with butterflies around it. Like I couldn't imagine something better than this. Like when I first started Eat Feel Fresh many years ago when I was 20, I actually created a social network. Eat Feel Fresh was supposed to be like the first social network for like healthy and conscious people. And I like spent like all of my savings on like hiring a web designer, and I made this entire social network where people can like log in and post recipes and articles, and there were forums on like positive psychology and eating disorders and this and that, and like I put all of my time and effort into like making this social network. It was such a dream, and it was split up into sections: eat fresh, think fresh, look fresh, feel fresh, be fresh, with all different categories, which were exactly like meditation, food, spirituality. All of the things that he said. I had created a social network of that when I started Eat Feel Fresh 6 years ago. So it was so insane to see that the universe was giving that right back to me. Exactly what I had wanted to do, right back to me. Again, not a coincidence, a path. So I was like, absolutely, that would be my highest honor. Like, please let me know what I can do, how I can start, like anything. And keep in mind, we met in New York, and he's on his book tour right now. He was in Atlanta. He was here. He was there. Every day he's in a new city. So he was like, okay, well, we'll be in touch. Then a few hours later, he emails me, and he's like, actually, call me. I was like, okay. Oh my God, I'm about to talk on the phone with Deepak Chopra, like the voice of God. You don't know how scared I was calling on the phone. It was like, imagine you're calling God. Like, it's literally how I felt. And then he told me he is speaking at this Science and Consciousness conference in San Diego the next day, tomorrow. And I had just gotten back from New York that night before. So I got back from New York. Then this is, guys, and I'm telling you, this is like happened yesterday. So I got back from New York on Sunday night, like at 1 a.m. So technically Monday morning. We have this conversation. I talked to him on the phone on Monday. He invites me to come to the Science and Consciousness conference on Tuesday in San Diego. I say, absolutely. I find a random hotel on hotels.com, take my car, wait until the traffic dies at 10 p.m. and hit the road and drive over to San Diego, which is like two and a half hour drive from here. Stay in San Diego for the night and go to the science conference, the Science and Consciousness conference today, where he gave a 4-hour lecture on so many things, on the universe and where it comes from, and non-dualism and the theories about that, and all of these amazing topics. So it was an incredible talk. And then afterwards, he wanted to have a meeting with me and the founder of Jayo, his co-CEO. So I was just so elated, and like my boyfriend was like, okay, like hold it together, like don't freak out. I was like, okay. But when I got there and I was able to hear him speak, it really helped like calm my nerves, because I was like able to just like hear him talk for a while and just like be like acquainted to his energy. And it felt so right, because I was like seeing him like my teacher. And I truly believe that he has been my teacher in many, many lives in many, many shapes and forms. And it's like my soul was so calling for him to become my teacher again, which is why my whole life I've just been really drawn to his work, why I've always listening to his audiobooks, going on YouTube, listening to his Facebook lives, why I'm just so drawn to him. And being able to sit in a room and listen to him lecture for 4 hours, it flew by like it was 5 minutes for me. I've never taken so many notes. Like I filled up the entire notebook with just notes on things because it was just like, oh my God, I found my teacher again. It felt so right. So then afterwards we had a meeting with the team of Jaya, which is their social network, and we talked about ways that we can correspond. And he was like, tell me about yourself. So I like told him about me and the things that I do, and I mentioned the podcast and all of these things. And yeah, so basically what's going on now is I'm going to be joining Jaya. I'm going to be joining as part of their team, creating online content, videos, like podcast episodes like this. I might even be sharing this podcast with them, just really like creating content on this social platform, which is such an amazing platform. I want you guys to go download the app right now. It's Jiyo, Jiyo. I'll post the link in the show notes. There's also the website, jiyo.com, Jiyo. So basically it has like videos, sections where you can post like, what are you eating? Like, how did you move today? And the incredible thing about it is you can set it up with like your Apple Watch, and you can say like, you can set it up so it's like the number of steps. So let's say you didn't walk that much that day. It will message you being like, hey, you only took 8 steps today. This yoga pose might be a good idea for you. And it'll be like seated twist because it knows that you're not walking today. So it would be like a seated yoga pose. It is like the most intelligent app ever. I'm like so obsessed with it and like so grateful to be able to be part of it and like creating content. And I would love for you guys to all join it and share. And it's just such a great alternative to Instagram because Instagram has so much like, you know, just negativity and comparison and advertisements and this and that. And this platform is like for us. It's like for our kind of people. So just so overwhelmed with gratitude and joy. And I can truly say that none of this was a coincidence, that when I was 12 years old and I said, one day I want to be like Deepak Chopra and he's my teacher, it was all leading up to this moment. And this moment's not over. Like this all happened to me today, guys. Today. Like I don't even know where it's going to lead me next. The next thing is I'm meeting him again on Sunday. We're going to Russell Simmons' yoga studio, Tantris, and he's doing a book signing there, and I'm going to be there, and I'm just going to be, you know, doing Instagram stories and basically spreading the message to the millennials because he's reached, you know, millions of people, but a lot of his audience are older people, and a lot of people our age were like we are the ones who listen to this stuff, but like knowing like your friends, like people you went to school with and stuff, like most people aren't aware about like that we're living in this new paradigm where we can like control our thoughts and synchronicities exist all around us. Like for most people, it's like gibberish to them. So we're creating that shift. And I really would love for you guys to all join me on the Jiyo social network so we can like share like what inspirational thing did you do that day? Like how did you nourish your body? Like what do you need right now? And then you can like share tips with each other. It's just such an amazing platform. So you can find me. I'm Sahara Rose on there. But I share this story with you because this synchronicity, this line of series and events happened because I recognized that this is part of my path. And with each action, I had a reaction and it became like a river and it flowed both ways. And I think that when things are going in the right alignment, they start moving super fast and it's no longer a struggle. So we're often told that life is a struggle. Like we're told like life isn't easy. Life's going to be hard every day, blah, blah, blah. I know I was always told that. And it's not the case. Life doesn't have to be like this like super hard thing where you're just like trying so hard to like get out of bed every day and it's like miserable. It doesn't have to be that way. That just means you're not living in alignment with your highest self. When you are in divine flow, divine means you are guided by the universe. You are guided by source. You are guided by Brahma, Vedanta, the universe, wisdom, whatever you want to call it. This knowingness that is larger than your conscious mind. This is when things begin to move really fast for you. So The fact that I met Deepak Chopra, a stranger in a crowd of 1,000 people who walked up to him and introduced myself, and a week later I'm on faculty of his organization is freaking, it's not even insane. It's just meant, divinely orchestrated and meant to be. But it's just insane because if I did not believe in synchronicities, if I did not flow with the magic, it wouldn't have happened. I would have stopped at, oh my God, I just met him, and like ended from there. But the fact that I was like, this is my teacher coming back to life, the fact that I helped that old man cross the street, the fact that I went out of my comfort zone and asked him for a foreword despite not knowing him, the fact that I really had to like step into my highest self, which was really freaking scary because it was the biggest move I've ever done in my whole entire life. This was huge for me, and the universe rewarded me. So I want you to see this as when you take that chance and you take that risk and you jump into the unknown, and it's for the greater good of the universe, it will pay you back. It will lead you there. It will hand you that platter and say, here, it's yours. Now, the reason I say when your path is aligned with the needs met, the needs desired by the universe, what I mean by that is sometimes we want things, but it's not for the greatest good of humanity. So becoming our highest selves means using our gifts to best serve the needs of the world. However, if you're maybe using your gifts, but you're not using it in a way to serve back, then this flow may not happen. Because in our highest selves, we serve, we give back, we share these gifts. But sometimes, like let's say you want to be a singer, but the reason you want to be a singer is so you can be famous and have all these fans and make tons of money, and that's the reason. It's not to share your art with the world. Then things aren't going to flow for you. Things are going to feel stuck, and you might be going to tons of auditions and no one's calling you back, and things aren't moving, and you might spend your whole life just in this feeling of stuckness, and then resentment grows and you feel angry and you feel confused, and then you look back on your life and you're wondering if you went the wrong way and all of these things. And it has nothing to do with the fact that if you're a good or bad singer, it has to do with your mindset. But if you came in with the mindset of, I just want to share my gifts with the world, I want to sing because it's medicine for people, and I just want to put my best self out there, I truly believe the universe will pay you back. And I don't know if you're going to be the next Ariana Grande, but it will pay you back in some way. Like maybe you will be a vocal alchemist and heal people with your voice, or maybe you will teach in a school. I truly believe the universe will manifest the perfect position for you if your desire is to serve the needs of others. So I want you to think about what it is that your highest self wants. So this might be like a really tricky question. I don't expect you to know it off the top of your hand, but it might just be like, I want to, invent something. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to help people. I want to create art. I want to be whatever, a psychologist, a lawyer, a marine biologist, or I want to be a mom, whatever it is. Take a few moments to think about that. And there may be like a few things, and you don't have to limit yourself to one thing. We can be many things, but think of like what is like the kind of like one or two main things that you're like really trying to achieve at this time, where you might not know what your highest self is, but the direction you're trying to head in. Like, I know I'm meant to work in the food world, or I know I'm meant to be in the arts, or I know I'm meant to be in the tech space. And once you've thought about what that direction is, I want you to think of why you want that. What is the purpose behind that desire? What will happen when you reach that state? What does being that highest self feel like in your physical body? I want you to feel that sensation right now as if it's happening. Whose lives will you enhance by being at your highest self? And this is something that you'll want to spend more than 10 seconds to think of. But if you can't think of whose lives will be enhanced, then the universe is not going to provide it for you. Because the universe is always working in favor of the greatest good. And wherever there is bad, there is good to counterbalance it. But we are all channels of light. And as we rise into our highest selves, our vibrations increase. And as our vibrations increase, we become vessels of this light, hence the term light worker. And we use our bodies, our speech, our friendships, our relationships, our work, everything to channel this light. Therefore, the true meaning of being your highest self is being your brightest light. It means letting go of the thoughts and feelings and emotions and memories that are no longer serving you at this time. It's dropping the old stories that you've told yourself over and over and over again. I'm not enough. I don't have the resources for that. I don't have time. I'll never make it. When we are able to get out of the victim mentality and stop seeing the world as going against us, but seeing it so in our favor, just if we can tune in and listen. And for some of us, it takes time. It takes months or years to shed those layers that it has taken months and years for us to take on. But for others of us, all it takes is an awareness. An awareness of, wow, I'm walking through my life with this victim mentality, thinking that the world is out against me. And that's making me see the world as a scary place. And that's preventing me from seeing the synchronicities that exist all around me. So if I drop that story and I see the world as a place of opportunity where miracles are hiding behind every single corner, if I just look, your world will radically change. It's all in the mindset. Synchronicities don't just happen for a select group of people. They're happening for everyone. It's just our openness and willingness to receive them. When we're more in touch with our higher selves, we notice the little patterns. We're able to pick up, oh wow, that conversation with that girl at that party led me to that job opportunity over there, which led me to that being fired, which led me to the person I met when I was walking out of the building, which led me to this job that I'm at right now, which led me to starting my own company, which led me to, it's that sense of perception. It's being able to look at a bunch of dots on a sheet and be able to draw lines in between them. And that takes self-awareness. To become self-aware, we must take time to reflect. It's taking that time in your morning to be still and just be grateful. And just say, thank you for this day. Thank you for these legs. Thank you for this heart. Thank you for this earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To practice your morning routine. To be present, to be mindful. To do meditation, to do yoga. To mindfully eat, to mindfully walk, to not multitask. All of these practices make us more self-aware. And the more self-aware we are, the more that we can pick up on these signs that exist all around us, which will propel us in the direction of our destinies. So do you see how these practices are all actually completely interconnected? It's through the practicing of mantras. I practice a lot of mantras. Mantras are repeating specific Sanskrit words. So I chant a lot to the goddesses. I love Saraswati, who is the goddess of creativity. I love Durga, who's the goddess of strength. I love Lakshmi, who's the goddess of abundance. So I'm always chanting to them. I'm always singing to them. I'm thanking them. I listen to a lot of kirtan music, which is like chanting music. So that to me is like a constant meditation that I'm doing. And when I hear this type of music, this chanting, I can't think of anything else. I'm totally still and totally mindful. And I was doing a lot of mantras during this whole week. And I truly believe that that helps me because it helps me become more aware. Our outer reality is a reflection of our inner state. The more we clean up these cobwebs that exist in our minds and our souls, the higher of a frequency we can operate. That's why it's so important to do the work. And by the work, I mean show up at that workshop where you're healing your relationship with your ex, or go to that meditation retreat, or go online and listen to a meditation on YouTube, but practice, because it is a daily commitment. It doesn't have to do with, oh my God, well, I nailed that yoga pose. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, are you practicing yoga, which yoga is self-awareness. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with movement. It's the practice of being aware. Are you practicing this in everything in your life? And are you letting go of the conditioning, of the childhood wounds, of the fears, of what society's told you to say and told you to be like? You have to drop all of those things. And again, it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight. I remember when I was living in Bali, a lot of the societal and family conditioning that I was brought up with was like really coming to surface to me. Like just being a really high achiever was always something that I was really like not forced upon me, but something that I wanted to live up to because I always wanted to impress my parents. That was so important to me. And like dropping that and being like, it's not about impressing everyone. Just be the best version of you. And having to let go of the need of my parents' approval. That was a huge one for me because I didn't realize it was a driving force of my life. And I wouldn't be where I was today if I had lived my life for my parents' approval, because they did not approve of anything I was doing. Right now, like now that I have like a video with Deepak Chopra on his Instagram, they're like, what did you do? What? Like they're in disbelief. But now they're really happy and they're really proud of me. But they definitely along the way, like moving to Bali, like writing a book on Ayurveda, like they thought I was like in a cult because I would like go to these like meditations and waterfalls and like all of these things. But I was doing the work that I needed to do to let go of the societal conditioning. And if I had not done that work, I would not be where I am today. So it takes letting go of who you are not to become who you are. So maybe you were brought up with this mentality, there's not enough. Your parents always said there's not enough money for this, not enough money for that. So your whole life you thought there was not enough. So you're going through your life, there's not enough. I need to get more. You're trying to yearn. You're trying to yearn for more, but it's coming from a place of lack, from incompleteness rather than fullness and abundance. And that's the story that you need to drop. And it's not an instant thing. It takes work. It takes meditation. It takes practice. Another story, which I'll leave for another episode about love, but it's like a lot of women were like, oh, well, I need my Prince Charming, or I need to play hard to get, or if I don't look like this, then no one will love me. That's a story a lot of us women carry. And in order to manifest our twin flames, the true loves of our lives, our souls and our Shiva Shakti, our female masculine reincarnation, we have to drop that societal conditioning of what a relationship should look like. And if you grew up like me watching Disney movies, then you got some conditioning going on. Trust me, I have it too. But I had to do a lot of dropping of it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like an enlightened being by any way. I still definitely carry things with me. But at least I've become aware of it. And whenever I see it come up, I'm mindful of it. And I can say, okay, that's not the true me right now. That's the conditioning. So being mindful, it's actually to become conscientious of the way your mind is operating. So why am I explaining all of this when we're talking about synchronicities? Because it is related to synchronicities. The more that you can go through the file cabinet that is your mind and go through all of the files and look through them and say, oh, relationship with my mom, I need to clean that up. Or like, oh, like that really bad friend fight I had, like that's still kind of lingering on, need to clean that up. And it doesn't mean you have to like go up to them and apologize and become friends again or bring bad people back into your life. And it doesn't mean any of that, but it means forgiving them. And you don't need to tell them you even forgive them, but it's forgiving their souls. So you are no longer carrying that, because any resentment that we carry on energetically from any person is keeping us from being our highest selves. And that keeps us away from experiencing the synchronicities and the coincidences that is the magic of life. So to have your transformation, you first must have your internal transformation. Take a look at your life and notice, am I feeling in flow? Do things seem to be working for me or against me? Am I paddling down the river and yes, there's some bumps, but I feel like the world is propelling me in the right way. The universe has my back. Or do I feel like I'm swimming upstream and everything's going against me? And if you feel like you're swimming upstream and you feel lost and hurt and all of these things, then Begin with yourself. Begin with your own mindset. Because every obstacle that is placed in your life is a lesson that you need to look at in order to evolve and become your highest self. Your soul has chosen a series of lessons that it's needed to learn in this reincarnation. And some of us, we go through these lessons really fast. And then that's why we get into this like amazing, joyous state where like everything is like incredible for the most part. And some of us, it can take us lifetimes to learn a certain lesson. And that just takes being self-aware. So maybe your lesson right now is forgiveness and just forgiving people and no longer holding that grudge, because that grudge is just holding you back. Maybe that lesson is self-worth and knowing how beautiful and radiant and worthful you are, of the life that you deserve. Maybe that lesson is fear of being seen, because you are still afraid of your own greatness. I want you to know that all of these fears are just illusions that are keeping you back from your highest self. And as soon as you start unveiling the turban that's wrapped around your head that is blocking your creative flow, things will easily flow through you, and you will become the channel of the wisdom that you are meant to share on this planet. I believe in you. I see you. And I love you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this story and being part of this incredible experience of this podcast of life, of the new paradigm shift. I'm so excited to be here with you guys in this day and age where the world is expanding and we can create the new shift. It is such an amazing time to be alive, and I'm so grateful. The book, The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, is out. It's on pre-sale right now on Amazon. If you just look up Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda on Amazon or just Google it, it will show up. It will mean the world to me if you pre-order it. I have a pre-order form on my website, eatfeelfresh.com. So if you pre-order one book and submit the form, you'll get a free Ayurvedic skincare guide. If you order 3 copies, you will get a free 3 free meal plans, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha meal plans, and 3 free grocery guides, Vata, Pitta, Kapha grocery guides, for getting 3 books. If you get 5 books, you'll get access to an exclusive webinar with me where I'll answer any of your questions. If you get 10 books, you get my Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type program for free. The list goes on and on. It like goes up to, if you buy like I think 100 or 200 books, you get to come to this like crystal infused spa with me and have a full day together in Malibu, and just all of these things. I just want to give back to you guys for supporting my work. And it truly means the world to me, because me being my highest self is sharing this with you. And just as much as it is medicine to you, it is medicine to me. I don't write any of these podcasts. I don't plan anything. I just sit in front of a microphone, stare out the window, and just speak from my heart, from the stars, from somewhere in between. So it means the world to me that you guys listen. If you could write a review, that would be the most incredible thing ever, because that's how the podcast is like seen by more people. And thank you guys so much just for being part of the journey. My Instagram is @EatFeelFresh. And my personal Instagram is at I am Sahara Rose. I will post both of those in the show links. And I really just appreciate you guys so much. This whole podcast coming to life was so serendipitous, and you listening to the end is another serendipitous moment. So thank you guys so much for being part of this magical movement, and I love you all so much. Namaste.